So this is how I went about designing these LED signs. You truly can turn them into anything you want, any font, any logo, anything at all. It just takes a little bit of work. I want to show you in this video how to do it with a font that I've been using, and my workflow around it is tried to make this as simple as possible. I've created an entire Blender geometry node setup for this, so let's dive straight into it. So the file of this is linked down in the description, and this is how to go about using it. So I'm going to show you how we did the wow one. I want to show you how to do it as one as well as two separate things, and then yeah, from there you'll be able to do a whole bunch. Now just keep in mind that this is definitely not a simple thing. It is actually quite advanced, so I would truly advise that you understand Blender's fundamentals minimum, and I have an entire course here. It's also linked down in the description. Go down there and you'll see how to start your Blender precision modeling journey. So here we go. First, let's figure out the design that you want yourself. Now, this is going to be my example file here. The font that I'm using is this one right here. It's a Google font. It's the one that I found I've got the best results with, but you truly can try with a whole bunch of different fonts, but just be aware that your mileage may vary exactly how it goes about, how it works. Every font is made differently. Some works well with 3D, some doesn't. So, to change the font here, because you might not actually have this font, so you might have to download it and put it on, go over into the data panel, and then here, select the font. You'll click into there, select the font that you're wanting, apply it, and do that. Now you're going to have to do it for all of these as well. Now these are geometry node driven, so you're going to have to click into this, go into the geometry node, and then go to this key node right here, and make sure that you've set the correct font in there for all of these. Now that I've said that, let's figure out the design that I'm wanting. So I would go into the text here, I would press tab, I'm going to go with wow, exclamation point. I love that. And that is what I'm wanting. Now, if you're wanting to go for a different sort of tiered sets and all that, you're going to have to play around. There's a whole bunch more to it, and I might cover it if you're wanting me to later on. So this here, first we need to figure out the size that you're wanting it. So I'm looking here at the size that you might want to get your 3D build plate in here for 3D printing, so you get a rough idea. If you want to do that, just go Shift, right click, press Shift A, bring in a plane at the size of your print bed. So I'll go with 250 for now. And now you'll get an idea, oh, okay, well, that's maybe a little bit big, so I'm going to have to cut this down. Just be aware that you can do that. So first, here I'm saying, okay, I want it a little bit bigger than that for my final result. So I'm going to go to the data panel, go to the size here. I already know the one that I want. It's 169. Perfect. That's the size I want. So now I know the text, the font, and the size. So I'm going to go in here, press tab, press Control A, press Control C. So I've copied the text because I'm going to go to each one of these. Now, each one of these creates a different thing. This one's going to create our base. This one's going to create our outline. You can see it just above my head as I click these. This one is going to create our rim that lets the top cap sit. This one is going to create our fill, and this will create our fill walls. So we're going to go to each one of these, and in the modifier properties panel, we're going to just change the text. So I'm just pasting that in there. We're going to go to each one of these like so. And then once we've done that, I'm going to just press 7 on my numpad to take a look at the top down. I'm going to click apply all real soon, but if you don't have that, you've got to add modifier tools. So go to edit, preferences, add-ons, type in here modifier, and you'll find modifier tools. Turn that on there, and that will be it. So I'll select all of these. I'm going to press Shift D, move them out to the side like so, or rather than Shift D, just know that you're going to be working with this, and that's how it's always going to be. Just make sure you save this file, and then what you can do is just do it to these. So just know that you can go back to the original file rather than saving over this one. So I'm just going to click apply all on all of these, and just quickly I want to show you that here we now have the base, the fill walls, the outline, and the rim. Now we're going to need one more, which is called the trim, but we're going to make all of this in just a moment. I just wanted to show you that that's what we've created thus far. So we're going to select all of these now, Press tab to go into edit mode. We're going to press P and separate by loose parts. So now all of these are their own individual objects. So we've got to go back out of edit mode with tab, select all of these once again, just double check, and then we're going to press tab once again to go into edit mode with all of them. Now we're going to make sure that we're going to turn this on here, which is our auto merge vertices, and also turn on split edge faces. I've got it to this distance here because we're going to press A to select all of this. I'm going to go GZ200, and that has split wherever it was overlapping. It's split it and it's not selected. So we've got to press A once again to select everything. Go GZ minus 200, and you may have noticed that something's a little bit off here. So right this minute, these two are set as two separate objects, so they wouldn't have split each other. So select both of these, press Ctrl J to join them, and now we're going to do that same operation with them. So shift, go tab, then G, then Z. I'm going to go just by 20 this time. It's split it. Press A once again, G, Z minus 20. There we go. Now that this is now all split up, we're going to just quickly clean things up. I'm hoping in the future that I'm going to be able to make this a lot more automatic, but there is currently this sort of manual cleanup. So wherever in a single character there is an overlap that doesn't look quite right, or it might have flipped all the way around, we have to clean that up. So obviously, this W right here, this isn't quite right, so I'm going to press X and delete those vertices. That's not right, so I'm going to dissolve that with Control X and Control X again. This is the same, Control X, but keep an eye out that there are sometimes really small imperfections, like this right here. So I'm going to do a chain selection here, so click there, Control, click, and then that selected all of that. Also do a shift click and select all of those. Select all of those. I've got the same up at the top here as well. So we're going to select all of that there and all of this here. There's one more there. Delete those vertices. Brilliant. And then obviously there's a whole bunch here of this one. This is our base, so we've got to clean it up. This should all just be almost solid to just be one back plate. So delete all of those vertices, making sure that that's looking clean there. It is indeed. There we have it. I'm now going to select everything. We're going to do a merge by distance. So M, then distance. I'm going to set that to 0.01. It's merged if there was anything. Perfect. Then do an X. Do a limited dissolve. 5 is a bit too much for me. I like to set this usually to 0.01, sometimes 0.1 as well. Okay, now that we've done this here, we've got to prepare one or few more things we've got to do. So we're going to select all of these here. We're going to join these. No, we're not going to join these. We're just going to duplicate them with Shift D, move them up on the Y. So I'll press Y up that to there, because these are actually going to be our trims. So I'm going to join all of this to just one of this, and then I'm going to select it, press F2, and I'm going to rename it to trim. So now that I know that that is trim, perfect. Now I'll go back into it. I'll press P and buy loose parts. Now there's something very important we got to double check. This should be trim. This one here should be trim 2 or trim 1, because I've got to join these now. So that's trim 1. This one here should be trim 3, and this one here should be trim 4. So it has to be alphabetical, and we're doing it through numbers here. So that is trim. I'm looking at here. If you don't have this, you've got to turn on your scene statistics, which you would have right here somewhere. I always forget where it is. There's statistics somewhere here. There it is, statistics. Or there's the text information as well. There we go. And now that we have that, just make sure, so that's one object, that's one object, that's one object, so this is all one object there. This is our base, so let's just join that one together there. This should be base, base 1, base 3, base 4, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a perfect sequence as long as it's alphabetical. And now this one should be our outline, but where's the other outline to it? Our base is the other outline for it. So we're going to grab this one, press Shift D, move it off to the side there. I'm now going to bring my 3D cursor to that point there. So I'll select one of these, press Shift S, and I'm going to move my cursor to the selected. I'll select all of these, press Shift S and go selected to cursor. Brilliant. And now what I'm wanting to do is I wanted to select these and make sure that the inside is the active element. The active element is the one that is a lighter color. I'll press Ctrl J, and now you'll see that it keeps the name of the active element, which is outline. So I'm wanting to select all of these, that one there, or maybe I want this one here to be the outline. So I can see that I don't want it to be the base one, I want it to be the outline one. So Ctrl J, I'll do the same with this one here, Ctrl J, and do the same with this one right here, Control J. Okay, now quickly check these. So we'll click outline perfect, go up to 1, bigger than 1, bigger than 3, perfect. That's looking good. And now we're going to do the same for all the rest here. So we're just going to select this and that one here. We're going to join that up, select this one, Control J. We're just joining all of these up now, Control J. Select that and this one here, Control J. And again, we're going to need to join those, and we need to join those up. These are our fill, and then we've got another one down here as well. Select these, Control J, select those. I think you're starting to get the idea of it. I'm really hoping that in the future I'll be able to make this automatic, but unfortunately we don't get super clean outlines in Blender just yet. But now let's just quickly check things over. But the best and easiest way of doing this is by moving it over to its collections now. So I'm going to select all of this. I'll press M. I'm going to move to collection. This is the trim set. And then I'm going to select all of this one here, press move. Move this one over to the base set. Now you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing, so let me just move this collection here. I'll move my head as well so you can see. So here we have the trim set, the base set. We're moving this one into the outline set, so select this. M, move to the outline set. Just keep you there. This one here is the rim, so move that over to the rim. Select this one, move that over to the fill, and select this one and move that over to the fill wall. Now, what we're going to do is just quickly go to all of these and just check that these are in the right order. So it should be, this one should be at the top, the next one down, next one down, next one down, and that's how it should be set up in all of your little collections here. Because if it is not, the next geometry node setup that we have here is going to basically freak out, because unfortunately in geometry nodes you can only go through a collection alphabetically. So we've just got to make sure that we set this up like so that it's all going nicely like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. This is now ready for the big sort of automatic magic moment. So let's just move my head, oops, not there, here. And now we're going to go over to this little cube that I've got here, and we're just going to turn on the little modifier that's on it. Click that on, boom. Okay, we have a whole bunch of elements, and they're all separate to one another, and they're all missing the exclamation point. There's also one other thing that I want to point out, that I won't be showing it in this video, but if you have any words where there's the exact same height here, so for instance if we add another exclamation point here, they would be at the same level. What you've got to do in this trim is you've got to go into all the ones that have these top and bottom ones that are going to be exactly the same coplanar plane. Go into edit mode, you're going to go into select all of these edges up at the top. You're going to press E to extrude them on the Y just by a teeny tiny bit, doesn't need to be much. And you would do the same for the base as well in case they were matching up on the base. So E, Y, bring that down a teeny bit, and then you would select all these bottom edges here. Oops, I selected that through a chain selection rather. And then you just delete those away. Now, again, it's not going to be something that you would need to do for a while, but you might need to do it for instance, the word hello, where you have double L. That's where you would probably need this, because this is what is used for the trimming part, and with perfectly coplanar faces in Blender, you can get into a little bit of a tricky situation here. Okay, but now that I've covered that and we have everything separated like that, we don't want that all to be separated. Let's just bring this all together. So I'm going to select all of these like so. I'm going to deselect, hey, why did, oh, go out of edit mode, of course, then select all of those. I'm going to deselect the actual modifier, active modifier one, because that doesn't matter. And then I'm going to press Shift S and selection to cursor. That moves everything right here perfectly ready to work with. Now, you might be saying, hey, you're missing the exclamation point. I did that on purpose because obviously we're all going to have different length words here. So this is how to add letters as well as take them away. You'll see how it's already been taken away. And this is now going into geometry nodes. Don't worry, I've tried to make this as simple as possible. So we're going to show you some geometry nodes now. So I'm going to open up my geometry node tab here. And we're going to zoom out here and you'll see that we now have the lovely geometry node set up right there. Okay, there is a lot going on here. What exactly are you looking at and all the rest? I've tried to make it simple. So this is all the collections of the words. So this is, as you can imagine, that's going to be the trim, the base, the outline, and this is all the fill collections. This is building the fill part of those little caps that are right on top of the letters here. Okay, and now we've got the word building. Now you can see each letter has one of these. So there's only enough for 3 there, so we've got to add another one. And this is where we split it and merge it all together. I hope it's starting to sort of simplify and make sense what's going on. So first we're just going to make this as all as one thing. So let's first get that exclamation point. I'm going to select this node here. I'll press Control-Shift-D, which duplicates it with all the connections. Right, and now that I've done that, I'm going to say, hey, I want this to all just be one thing. So if I want this all to be just one thing, I'm going to grab this one here. I'm going to do an Alt right click drag to join that to there. Now you might not have that. If you don't have that, go to Edit, Preferences, type in Node in here, and make sure you have Node Wrangler. Okay, now that we've done that there, we're still not getting our exclamation point. That's because we have to say, hey, we're looking for the 4th one. Click that on, and there you have it. It's been done. Now we're going to do that the same for this one here. And also just make sure that everything here that's needing it is needing it. There we go. And so let's go here, this node here, Control-Shift-D, move that there. And this one needs to be connected in 2 places, which is this one and this one up there. And we're just going to do that once again, go up in the number. Perfect. And now we have our nice little fill cap on there as well. Okay, now that we're at this point here, let's go and take a look at this mesh just quickly because it might have some issues. We should always inspect it before we go. And what I'm mainly looking for is right at the point. So I'm going to go into my X-ray, right at the point here where it goes in, just making sure that there's no overlap. Look, right here. There we go. We've got a nice teeny tiny little overlap there. And that is a perfect example to show you how this is quite parametric in nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the modifier for a moment. And I'm just going to select the exclamation point. And I'm just going to move it. Very, very simply. Going to move it. So just get nice and close. I just need to move it a little bit. So I'm going to press G and constrain it on the X. And I'm just going to pull it out to, maybe I'll give it a little bit more so that when I'm 3D printing, it doesn't cut it off right there. It's up to you. Depends where you're going to have the trim. So I'm just going to leave that probably somewhere around there. I'm pretty happy with how that's looking there. Yep. And now I can just turn this back on. And that will be that sorted, no problem at all. And this is now ready to go. Now, let's go about saying that was it, and I want to have that printed. So if I wanted to have that printed right this minute, it should be set up. So I'm going to just go Shift D to duplicate this entire setup, right click to cancel the movement. I'm going to do a mesh boolean. Now, if everything's set up, this will take a little moment, and then we're just going to go and apply everything here. Give that an apply. Again, it's going to take a moment. And now I'm going to press G, Y, drag that down here. And now I should be able to go into edit mode, go P, go loose parts. And now we will have this set up like so. But you may have noticed something. It has done a split here. What's going on with this split? Why is it split like that? Do you remember there was a little splitting section in the geometry nodes? So let me just show you what I've looked over there. I'm doing this mistake because I'm pretty sure it's going to happen to others. So here we currently have it split. We don't need it to split, not for the way that we have it set up for this one right this moment. So what we would actually do is I'm going to hold down Control, right click, slice those there, and I'm just going to put those all into one join geometry up there. Now that I've done that all into one join geometry, now I can press Shift D to duplicate it once again, right click to cancel the movement, do a mesh boolean. Again, it's going to take a moment. Remember, I'm making this do a lot of operations just for you automatically, and then you can apply it as well once you've done that and save you a whole bunch of time. So once that's been done, now you'll be able to see this here, and we're going to go into edit mode with tab, press P, go loose parts, and now we will have this as one word there, and we'll have that as one word there. Now, let's just quickly give this a 3D print check. There might be problems. Oh no, look, perfectly clean, ready to go, and I'm sure those are perfectly clean. Those are very simple shapes. But what if I wanted to split this exactly how I have it? Let me just move this here, like this here. So we have done a split already, but it didn't have that little divot here. So how do we do that type of automatic trimming to our words? Well, we're going to do this right here. So I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go into the geometry nodes once again. We're going to trim that up here. So I'm wanting to trim the W and exclamation mark to be their own. So I'm just going to move that into this join geometry because that's how we split them to be their own. But now how do I do that next trim part? I want that W to be trimmed up. Well, look here. We have the trim trimmer. All we've got to do is connect this up to the trim collection of the first letter of the split. And that should be it. That's going to automatically do everything for you as long as you have set up your trim correctly in the correct order. So now that we've done that, let's do the exact same workflow here. So Shift D, right click, then I'm going to mesh boolean, give it a moment, and then I'm going to do an apply once again. Press G, Y, bring that down here. Now I'll go into edit mode with tab, P, loose parts, and now I should have this one here. I do indeed, and I have this one here. I do indeed, and all that set up. Okay, brilliant. Now we've created our sign. Perfect, that's it. How about I show you also how to do a little bit of editing to this sign. So if you wanted to make it thicker, if you wanted to make it thinner, how exactly I do all the cable run-throughs in it. So let's do exactly that. Let's say that I wanted this to be a much thicker sign because I actually made this one thinner than what I actually have my keep making sign there in the background. So I'm going to go back into the geometry nodes here for this one. And in the geometry nodes, we're going to go and take a look. Here we have, this is the base extrusion, the outline extrusion, and the rim height. So I'm just, for the time being, going to go to this fill building. I'm going to select all of those and press M to mute them, to tell them, hey, you don't need to display yourself right now. That's fine. So we've got this here. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm going to select all of these, and then I'm just going to go to one of these, let's say this outline extrusion, and let's say I want this to be 50. I'm going to hold down Alt and hit Enter. And that's going to apply them to all the selected nodes that are the same. Now that I've done that, you can see that this is actually now much thicker. Perfect. But you know what? That rim, I think I want that rim to now be 30. So I'm going to go to it, type in 30, hold down Alt, hit Enter, and that's now raised the rim up on all of these as well. Now let's see why I hid this down here. Well, now if I go to this one, press M once again to unhide it, they're all the way down there. That is not what I'm wanting, but take a look here. We have a rim height offset. Let me just show you it. Oops. Let me just grab this one here. So this is the rim height. I don't know how to spell. It's fine. And we're going to grab all of this here. The rim height now is 30. Hold down Alt. Click, that brings up the rim height. Oh, but look, The rim wall height also needs to go up. I'm pretty sure it needs to go up by 5. So I'll type in 20, Alt, Enter. There we go. And now we've just made this much thicker. You can edit this to your heart's content, however you're wanting. But let's say that there is exactly what I'm wanting. I'm wanting to keep it with this trim in place. So now let's show you how I do the cable routing. Now, what I like to do is I leave this one here. I usually do a save of the file of some way, shape, or form. And now what I'm going to do is probably something I shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do a mesh boolean on this one. I would normally duplicate it, keep it down, so I have all my collections separate like that. And now I'm going to apply this. Now that this is applied, this is now all one thing. As we've seen already, you can press G, Y, and move this down. We can now press Tab, go into P and go by loose parts, and this just double checking here is now all split up nicely like so. Let's do a 3D print check. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the 3D print tool. Make sure you have that. That's in the Edit Preferences 3D print tool. We'll do a quick check here, and that's come out perfect. And we'll do another check on this one here, and that's come out just perfect as well. Remember that if you have problems with what exactly is coming here, the main things that are going to affect 3D printing is the non-manifold face edges and the bad contig edges. So bad contig means that your normals are flipped, and the manifold means that you have a hole somewhere in your mesh. And again, that is the whole thing of Blender precision modeling and the fundamentals. You've got to understand all that to really be able to tackle this project. Okay, now that we've done that, let's do this cable routing. So I'm just going to select all of these top shells here. I'll just press H to hide them away. I'm going to press 7 to take a look from the top down. I'm also going to do an, Shift Z for X-ray, and I'll probably also do an Alt Z so that it's solid so I can see things pretty clearly here. Now I'm just going to do a Shift right click to bring my 3D cursor here. Then I'll press Shift A, bring in a plane, and I want to make this plane. My LED strips, they are 10 millimeters in thickness, so minimum I want to go for is either 13, 15, maybe I want to go even further, like 20. So I'm going to go see if 20 is too much here. 20, probably 20 is just about as much as I want to go. You know what? I've changed my mind. I want to change that to actually be 15 here, and I'll go for 20 in length that way, and then I'm happy with that. Okay, so now that I've got this set up like this, I'm going to go into edit mode of this. And actually, I'm going to go into X-ray as well here. So I just press Alt Z. I'm going to press G, move this across to somewhere about there. So that's one place I'll have it. I'll press Shift D. This is going to be another crossing point right here. Shift D, another crossing point right here. And I did this once before. I forgot the crossing point down there. So don't be like me. Remember all the crossing points, and I'm going to do that there. But this one's, I'm not too happy with how that's happening there. So I'm going to go into vertex selection, select this vertex, and I'm just going to manually move this so that it's something a little bit more like that. Yeah, I'm happier with that like that there. Yeah, that's looking good there. Make sure that these have enough of an overlap over here. That one, enough of an overlap. Yep, and this one here, just make sure that that is enough of an overlap, as well as this one here. GZ overlap, plenty of overlap there. Perfect. Now you might also want to decide that you're wanting a hole to bring in the power. So I'm going to go and I'll select this one, Shift D. I'm just going to eyeball this, but for what I would honestly tell you to do is do some measurements, figure out exactly what the size is of your power connection or your LED connection coming in. So do whatever it is that you need it to be and have that set there. Now, what I'm going to do is with this one here, I'm going to actually do P selection and part it so that it's its own thing, because we're going to be doing something completely different with it. What you could actually do just from here is we could just go out, select that one, select its face, and then press E and extrude it downwards, select all of it, extrude it upwards, rather than doing solidify and doing all of that. Just make sure you do a Shift N so that it is the right normals to cut things up. But now we've got these ones here. Let me just bring everything back. These ones here, what I'm going to do with them is we're just going to go and give it a solidify. I'm going to go for a good 15, maybe even 20. I did do 15 for my keep making sign, and it was a little bit finicky to put that in. It took a little bit of effort. And now with that, we can now just use this as our cutting tool. So make sure you have bool tools enabled. So again, edit preferences, all of that. We're going to click the tool, click what we're wanting to cut, go Control Numpad minus. Remember, you can also go to Edit Bool Tool that way. And once again, the tool, what we're wanting to cut, Control Numpad minus. And then we're going to select this one here and this one there, Control Numpad minus as well. Give this a good once over, see if there's any extra geometry that's been made here by accident. Nope, that is looking all good to me there. Nice and clean, nice and clean, nice and clean. Perfect. So now that we have that set, there is one other thing that I want you to keep in mind. Now, I made this wow because I want this to be down on a desk. If you're wanting for this to be hung up on a wall, you need to create those little screw mounts, or maybe you want to do it by command strips instead. But I want this to be flat, and this right this minute, if I do shift right click onto the bottom face here, and I bring in a plane, and I make this plane nice and big, and I rotate it on the X by 90, you'll see that this is not going to sit flat, because that right there, it's sticking out. So let me just go into edit mode, extrude this out by 10, and that's good there, and then I'm going to do a bool tool cut to the bottom of both of these, so this is perfectly flat, so I can put this wow down on a surface. And in fact, that is what I've done down on here. Let me just show you. On the bottom of this, you'll see that it is flat. It's because I did this trim operation with it. So let's get back to it. We're almost there now. You can do whatever you're wanting now, but we've got to quickly get this ready for 3D printing. So save your file, because now we're about to apply everything. So I'm just going to select all of this, click Apply All. That should be that done. Bring back the caps with Alt-H, and that's going to bring back your caps. So I'm going to bring all those caps back. Select these two, move this just away here, and oops, I forgot one cap there, and move that away now. Brilliant, and let's just give this one last once over. So here in edit mode, we're just going to go 3D print, check all, see that it's looking good. Yeah, we have some zero faces, we have some overhangs, but those aren't truly going to do a problem. What I like to do sometimes is select all of this, go X, do a limited dissolve now, and see if that does anything. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just something that I like to do. It's a bit of a force of habit that I've done. And yeah, I'm happy with that. There's no need to go over the top here. As long as there's no broken mesh, you should be just fine. And this here, this is perfectly ready now to 3D print. In fact, let's get this over into my slicer, and I'll meet you right there. Oh, very quickly, to export this out, the way that I like to do it is I'll just grab this all as one, and I'll export it here. So I'll just go File, Export, STL. I like doing it through this STL method rather than the STL method that way, just because it's a force of habit that I do. Make sure you set it as selection only and click Export STL, and we'll do the same for this one here. So I'm using Bamboo Studio, so I'm just going to bring in those files now. Here is the big wow. Let me just change that color, because that's a little bit not that visible at the moment. Here we go. We've got the big wow. What I like to do at this point is I right click it, split by objects, and then I let it do its own auto arranging so that it's able to put them perfect. And this should now just basically slice it up. Now, my recommendation here is to set this to 3 wall perimeters, and then also set the percentage infill all the way down to 5. However, with only 5, sometimes you can get some little drooping here. So what I also do is I turn up the top surface here, the top shell. I put it up to 5 just to make sure that's going to be perfectly flat, rather than risking those little divots with such low infill. So then you can just slice this up, give it a little moment there, and that's going to have that going. There it is. this is now perfectly ready to go for it. And that's how I went about making all of my signs here. So, and there you have it. That's how I went about making these lovely signs. If you have any questions, by all means, let me know over in the Discord community. It's linked down in the description. A massive thank you to my patrons. Truly, without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing here. So if you're liking what I'm doing here and think I'm worthy of your support, I would love to see you there too. Remember that if you're having a tricky time with this, over in the Discord community, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to try and help you, as well as myself when I have the time. And also, keep in mind that this is a little bit more advanced than your average Blender sort of creations. So make sure you understand the Blender fundamentals. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's either in the course. I have a whole bunch of ideas and ways to get started. It's linked down in the description. Hopefully that will get you started in this amazing world of 3D. I can't wait to see what you're going to get creating. Make sure you tag me. Thank you for watching and keep making.